A lot of people think making money online is either a scam or something only special people can do. I used to think that too. I used to scroll through videos where girls and guys talked about how they made thousands from their laptops. And honestly, I'd roll my eyes because it looked too easy, too polished, and way too far from my real life. I didn't see myself in those stories. I saw people with perfect setups, perfect confidence, perfect results. Meanwhile, I was just trying to pay my bills, keep my life together, and stop feeling like my salary evaporated the moment it hit my account. That's what this video is about. Not a fairy tale, not a get rich overnight trick, just the real story of how I, an ordinary girl with a regular laptop, started making money online from zero. What actually worked? What wasted my time? What changed everything? And what I would do differently if I had to start again today. If you're watching this because you want a real path, not a fake promise, stay with me. I'm going to show you exactly how it all started for me, how the first money came in, and why the online world is not magic, but it is very real. I remember the exact feeling that pushed me into this. It wasn't some dramatic movie moment, it was a regular evening. I was sitting with my laptop, hair in a messy bun, in my favorite oversized sweater, and I opened my banking app. You know that little knot in your stomach you get before you check your balance? I had that. I started adding everything up in my head: rent, food, transport, random subscriptions, that one unexpected bill, and suddenly there was almost nothing left. The worst part wasn't just the number, it was the realization that this happened every single month. I worked, the money came in, and then it disappeared on basic survival. And I had this flash of thought: if I don't change anything, nothing will change for me, will change. Not Mesits, not God. Same stress, same anxiety every time I open my banking app. Same feeling that one bad month or one unexpected expense could knock me out. So I did what so many of us do. I typed "how to make money online" into the search bar. From that moment, I fell into the same rabbit hole millions of people fall into: tutorials, blogs, TikToks, YouTube videos, threads, everyone promising something. Some people promised easy money doing tiny tasks. Some promised thousands for just an hour a day. Some made it sound like all I needed was the right app or the right secret. Of course, I tried some of it. I clicked on things, tested little methods, wasted time on low paid tasks and meaningless apps. What did I get from that phase? Almost no money, and one really important lesson: the internet doesn't pay you for hoping, scrolling, or dreaming. It pays you for solving a problem for someone. That's it. Once I finally accepted that, everything started to shift. Instead of asking, "Where is the secret site?" I started asking myself a new question: what can I actually do that another person would be willing to pay for? I sat down with a notebook and made a very honest list. Not of my dream skills, but of what I could already do, at least a little better than average. I wrote: I can write, I can explain things clearly, I can design simple graphics in Canva, I can edit basic video. I understand social media pretty well because, let's be honest, I've spent years on it. I can organize information, plan content, and keep track of details. On paper, none of that looked glamorous. None of it sounded like I'm a CEO girl boss with a six-figure business. But that's the trick. Your first online money almost never comes from something glamorous. It comes from something useful. So I made myself a promise. Every single day, I had to do at least one action that could potentially bring in money. One message, one offer, one sample, one tiny step, one not a perfect business plan, just movement. The first real money I earned online came from helping someone with their content. Nothing crazy. I wasn't launching a startup. I wasn't building an app. I was simply using my laptop and my brain to make someone else's life easier. I started by looking at what creators and small businesses struggle with: thumbnails, post designs, descriptions, simple edits, content ideas. People needed help making their stuff look good and clear. I realized this is my opening. I remember writing my first real messages to potential clients. My heart was pounding even though I was just typing. I didn't pretend to be some huge agency. I didn't lie about my experience. I wrote as myself. Something like, "Hey, I'm just starting out, but I've already created some examples. I'd love to help you with thumbnails and visuals for your channel. I work fast, I'm open to feedback, and I really want to build a long-term relationship with someone I can help grow. I sent a lot of messages, most were ignored, some got polite, not right now replies. But then one person said yes. That first yes felt surreal. Not because the money was big, but because it proved that this wasn't just content I was watching. It was something I could actually do. A real person on the other side of the internet believed I could help them and decided to pay me for it. The first project was simple. Create a thumbnail. That's it. But I treated it like it was the most important job of my life. I opened all the references, studied what worked on similar channels, tested different fonts and colors, and tried to make something that would actually be clickable on a tiny phone screen. I worried about everything. Is the text big enough? Is the contrast strong enough? Does the image make sense at a glance? When I sent the first version, I was honestly terrified to open my messages. I was expecting a long list of complaints. Instead, he replied with a few tiny edits. Make the text a bit bigger, change one color, adjust one element. I did it, sent it back, and then I saw the words, "Looks great, I like it. What's your PayPal?" In that moment, sitting there with my laptop and messy hair, I felt something shift inside me. A tiny amount of money came in, but the identity change was huge. I was no longer just a girl scrolling videos about how other people make money online. I had just made my own first money online. From that point on, I stopped treating this like a fantasy and started treating it like a system. I looked at what had actually created that result. It wasn't luck, it wasn't some hack. It was a combination of three things: a skill someone needed, a clear offer, and the courage to send it even when I wasn't sure I was good enough. So I doubled down. I created better samples of my work. I built a small portfolio using the projects I had done, and a few passion projects. I watched tutorials not to escape reality, but to improve my results. I started paying attention to details. How do the top thumbnails in my niche look? How do successful creators structure their titles? Why do certain visuals make me want to click instantly? Every time I learned something new, I immediately applied it to my own work. I didn't let tutorials pile up as someday tasks. Learn one thing, use one thing. That was the rule. The more I did this, the more I noticed something almost funny. I wasn't the most talented designer on the planet, but I was easy to work with. I replied quickly, I listened, I cared about my clients' goals more than my own ego. I didn't get offended by feedback, I used it. And that alone already set me apart. Clients don't just pay for talent, they pay for reliability, clarity, and peace of mind. If you can make someone feel, okay, she's got this, I don't have to worry, you become incredibly valuable. This is important for you too. You don't have to be the best at what you do to start. You just have to be good enough to help someone and professional enough that they'd gladly work with you again. Now let's talk about the second big step of my journey: content. After a while, I realized I didn't want to spend my entire life only working behind the scenes on other people's projects. I wanted to build something of my own, something that could grow over time and not depend entirely on how many hours I worked that week. That's when I started seriously thinking about creating content. Here's what I want you to understand. Content isn't just about becoming famous, it's about creating leverage. It's about turning your experiences, skills, and lessons into something that can reach many people at once. One video can answer a question for thousands of people while you sleep. One piece of content can keep bringing people to you weeks or months after you made it. The hardest part was deciding what to talk about. I'm not a super genius. I'm not a millionaire. I'm not some iconic tech founder. I'm just a girl who started from zero and figured out a few things about earning online. So I asked myself, what would I have desperately wanted to watch when I was stuck at the beginning? The answer was clear: real stories, honest numbers, practical steps, and zero bullshit. So that's what I decided my content would be. Not, I know everything, listen to me. More like, here's what I tried, here's what completely failed, here's what surprisingly worked, and here's exactly how I did it. Of course, I was scared to get on camera. I worried about how I looked, how my voice sounded, whether I blinked too much, whether I sounded smart enough. I re-recorded intros. I watched my own takes and cringed. I thought, who am I to talk about this? There are already so many channels. But there's a simple truth I had to accept. You cannot improve content you don't create. You don't get a better on camera presence by imagining yourself talking. You get it by actually talking again and again, even when the first 20 videos feel awkward. So I posted, some videos got basically no views, some got a little traction, some got comments from women who said things like, "Thank you for being honest, I feel exactly the same," or "I'm just starting too, this made me feel less stupid." Those messages meant more to me than any vanity metrics, because they told me something important. I wasn't alone, and if I wasn't alone, it meant there were a lot of girls out there who needed this kind of real, grounded content. The more honest I was about my journey, the more my content started to connect. I talked openly about low-paying clients, about anxiety, about taking screenshots of my tiny early earnings because even small progress felt huge compared to zero. I talked about how it feels when people around you don't really understand what you're doing and think online money is just a phase. I talked about imposter syndrome, about not feeling expert enough, about comparing myself to other women who seemed so much more put together and successful. And at the same time, I didn't just complain. I always showed what I was doing about it, what steps I was taking, which skills I was learning, what I was testing next. Slowly, that combination, honesty plus action, started building trust. That's when the third layer of income came into the picture. Monetization beyond just selling my time. Once you start building even a small audience, even a small group of people who trust you, you gain options. You can continue offering services, you can collaborate, you can recommend tools you already use and love, you can create your own digital products, you can do live sessions, coaching, templates, classes. There are endless possibilities. For me, the first step into this world was affiliate income. I looked at the tools, platforms, and resources I already used every day. Some of them had referral programs, not shady, random stuff, real tools that helped me do my work better. I thought, I'm already telling my audience about these things. Why not sign up as a partner and let those recommendations also generate some income for me? The key here is integrity. I refused to recommend anything I didn't genuinely like or use. I knew that as a woman talking to other women about money and online work, trust was everything. I'm not going to trade long-term trust for some quick commission. So my rule was simple. If I wouldn't recommend it to my best friend, I won't recommend it to my audience. Then I started thinking about my own products. That sounded scary at first. Who am I to create a product? But again, I asked myself a better question. What problems am I already helping people with? Over and over again. Can I package that into something clear and helpful? That's how the idea of small digital products was born. A checklist for beginners getting into online work. A simple guide to creating your first thumbnail. A mini plan for girls who want to get their first client in 7 or 14 days. Nothing huge, nothing overpriced, just practical, feminine, real-life resources that I would have loved to have when I was starting. And here's what I want you to see. By this point, my income was no longer coming from just one place. It was a mix. A bit from client work, a bit from content, a bit from affiliate programs, a bit from digital products. That's the power of building online. You don't have to rely on a single source. Did it happen overnight? No. Was it always easy? Definitely not. There were months where everything felt slow, where I felt tired, where I doubted myself again. There were moments when I wanted to just be a normal girl with a simple job and a predictable routine. But then I would remember that simple and predictable had never really felt safe either. At least now, every hour I put in was building something of my own. The turning point for me wasn't one magical month. It was a moment looking at my numbers and realizing more than half of my income this month came from the internet, from things I built myself. Me, a girl who used to think that online money was only for influencers or geniuses or people with connections. That's when I started to really trust myself. So if you're still watching this, I want to talk directly to you as if we're sitting in a kitchen late at night with tea or wine, talking honestly. If you're tired of where you are financially, emotionally, professionally, you are not crazy. You are not greedy. You're not too much. You just know you're capable of more than what your current situation reflects. You don't need permission to start. You don't need the perfect idea. You don't need a partner, a boss, or a certificate to tell you that you're allowed to try. You are allowed to try simply because you're alive and you want something better. Here's what I want you to do after this video. Take a piece of paper or open a blank document and write down everything you can do that might be useful to someone else. All of it. Don't downplay your skills just because they feel normal to you. Cooking, organizing, editing, researching, explaining, designing, planning, teaching, listening, so many normal things become valuable online when you package them correctly. Then circle 3 things you wouldn't hate doing regularly, things that feel natural or at least interesting enough to explore. From those 3, pick one and create a tiny, honest offer. Post it somewhere where people already look for help. A freelance platform, a chat, a community, a server, a DM, something like, hey, I can help you with X. Here's what I can do, here's how fast I can do it, and here's how much I charge as a beginner because I'm building my portfolio. Is it scary? Of course. But it's also empowering because that message is you stepping out of the just watching position and into the I'm here, I can help position. Some people will ignore you. Some might be rude. That's okay. You don't need everyone. You just need a few people to say yes at the beginning. The first yes will change you more than you expect. Not because of the exact number on the screen, but because of what it proves that you, with your life, your personality, your laptop, your story, can create income on your own terms. And from there, your job is no longer to be lucky. Your job is to build momentum, improve your core skill, communicate more clearly, show up more consistently. For me, as a woman, it also meant setting boundaries, valuing my time, and not letting people walk all over me just because I was the nice beginner girl. You can be kind and still be professional. You can be understanding and still have standards. That balance is a skill too. I want you to remember something. Freedom at the beginning doesn't look like lying on a beach with a laptop. It looks like sitting at your desk after work, tired but still willing to learn and build. It looks like saying no to a night of mindless scrolling and yes to creating one more thing that your future self will thank you for. It looks like being disciplined even when nobody is watching, nobody is clapping, and nobody is promising you anything. But slowly, if you keep going, that discipline turns into power. Power to say no to jobs and people who don't respect you, power to live where you want, or at least to know you're moving in that direction, power to take care of yourself, your family, your future, power to know deep down that even if everything around you changes, you still have skills and experience that nobody can take away. That's what making money online has given me, not just numbers on a screen, but a sense of agency, the feeling that I'm not just a background character in my own life. And that's what I want for you. So if this video becomes that moment you look back on and say, this is where I finally stopped only watching and started building, then everything I went through, every doubt, every long night, every tiny first payment was absolutely worth it. Because the real question is no longer, can girls make money online? We already know the answer to that. The real question is, will you give yourself the chance to be one of them